The biggest travel changes in decades is happening in 2025, and most people have no idea they're going on. After 28 years of planning trips to 73 countries, I can tell you these little changes are not just little tweaks in policy for 2025. These are major changes that are going to blindside many people that are unprepared. But here's the thing. While everyone else is scrambling to understand these new rules, today I'm pulling back the curtain on exactly what these travel changes in 2025 are and what they mean to you. The Real ID system, which is only for Americans, has been delayed more times than my connecting flights. But starting May 7th, fingers crossed, this will be in place. And if you want to fly domestically as an American in the United States, you have to have a Real ID. Now, what is a Real ID? The basic way to know is that you look at your driver's license or your ID that's been issued by your DMV, and there's going to be a yellow star up in the right corner. If you live in Washington, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, or Vermont, you're not going to have a yellow star. You're going to have, like in New York, the shape of the state. And what that means is those states have seen what the bare minimum is for requirements for Real ID, and they didn't think that was adequate for their citizens. So they made their IDs contain more information than what the national system needs. That's why they can't have a star, and they have a different symbol, which is their little states. What this means is that if you don't have that, because you already know it's coming May 7th, you need to get to the DMV and get your license updated. Most of them are just actually swapping it out for a small fee. Don't have a Real ID? Not a problem. You still can fly domestically after May 7th, but you're going to have either your passport, a global entry card, or Veterans Health ID card. Next up are two big changes that are happening in Europe. The first one is a system called the Entry-Exit System, or the EES. So say goodbye to all those cool stamps you used to get in your passport. They will be no more, and everything's going digital. What you'll do is you go to an automated kiosk, and at that kiosk, it's going to do your fingerprints. It's going to take a small, and it's going to scan your passport. And this gives those systems the chance to keep up with where you are and that you are not overstaying your visa requirements. It is like a VIP system to enter countries and go ahead and get on with your trip, but it's mandatory. It sounds pretty fancy, but it is a streamlined process to make travelers safer and allow border agents to keep up with people that are in their countries. The EES is already in place in many major airports. I've done it in London and Amsterdam and in Paris, for example, but it will be at the end of January. It will be in all of the Shenzhen region. Hold on, Shenzhen area. What is this? I have no clue. The Shenzhen region is a European region, does not include the UK, the parts of the UK that separated with Brexit. Once all the kinks have gotten out of the EES system, the second major change will be happening in the Shenzhen region, and that's going to be the ETIAS system, the European Travel Information Authorization System. So the big thing to note about this is that it's got to be applied for online before you fly by 96 hours. Granted, once you apply, it only takes a few minutes to get approved, but many people are going to mess up because it's got to be done a few days before you check in for your first flight. The cost of this visa waiver is going to be €7, which is about $7 to $8. It's going to be free to anybody that's under 18 or over 70, and it's going to be good for 3 years or until your passport expires, whichever happens first. The good thing about it is it allows you to stay in the Shenzhen region for 90 days, going between country to country or in one country every 180 days. If you love travel as much as I do, hit the subscribe button. It really helps out my channel. It also makes sure that you don't miss out on all these amazing tips that I'm passing on as I find them out myself. Now, let's go on to online renewal of passports for Americans. Listen up, my fellow Americans. The State Department has finally listened to us and set up in January of 2025 an online passport renewal program. There's no more of those paper applications you gotta fill in and appointments at the post office or library and all slopping around to put it in the mail and get envelopes and checks and get it done. No, you can do it all online, but here's the catch, or actually several catches, that you have to have 6 requirements met, 6. or you won't be able to do online. One, you have to be over 25. Your passport that you currently have has to be a 10-year passport. Your passport has to be issued within the last 9 to 15 years. You must be currently living in the United States or its territories. Your current passport cannot be damaged, stolen, or out of your possession anyway, and you cannot need any changes like name, gender, birth date, or place of birth. But there's more. If you apply and you're going to travel in the next 8 to 12 weeks, you can't use it. The minute you hit submit, your current passport is null and void. No traveling until your new one comes in that you cannot express. Hear me out. You cannot express the renewal. The other thing is they're going to be very, very picky on the picture that you send. So no selfies. I really recommend you still going to your local drugstore or wherever and getting your true passport photo done, and then making sure you take that picture, because that is the main thing they say they will kick your passport renewal back out of, is if your photo is not correct. Now, let's look at some of the laws that have just changed for transportation here in the United States. Another good news for all of us American travelers. 2025 brings some much needed wins at the airport also. If your flight is canceled or delayed 3 hours domestically or 6 hours internationally, you're eligible for a refund, an automatic refund. No more calling the 800 numbers and fill out the forms. They have to automatically refund you back to your original form of payment or give you a voucher for that. Now, there's some kickers to this. First off, it has to be American-owned airline, and it has to be American-operated flight. So, for example, my favorite flight to Europe and Asia and Africa is actually DFW to Doha, Qatar, which is operated by Qatar Airways. This would not be eligible. The other thing is that if they give you a voucher, it's good for 5 years instead of 1 year. And then if you continue on to another flight system, you get rebooked and you still make your final destination, you're not eligible for this also. The final thing is that if you purchase your flights with points, you're not eligible either. This law goes even farther, which is kind of cool, in that if you paid for upgrades or you paid for checked luggage, that'll automatically get refunded to you also if your flights get delayed. But if you do like I do, which gets free luggage from status, I get nothing for that. One thing also on bags is that if your bags are delayed 12 hours in the US or 15 to 30 hours internationally, then you automatically will get a refund on all of your baggage fees that you paid. Not by points, not by status, but if you paid it, they're going to refund that to you also. No more 800 numbers and filling out forms. Parents of kids under the age of 13, there's even better news for you in this bill. At the time of booking, you are guaranteed to get seats together with any of your children. The other thing is that the children will never pay more for their seats than the parents do. This catch, though, is that this is only for American-based airlines and flights operated by American-based airlines. No matter where in the world you want to travel next, having somebody walk you through all this process is huge, from getting you from bucket list dreams to boarding the plane. So let's hop on a free chat together. Just open the link below in the description box and get on my calendar, and let's walk you through this process. So have you traveling and making amazing dreams in 2025. Security check-in is also getting an upgrade. For our TSA pre-check people beginning at the Harry Reid Airport in Las Vegas in January 2025, we'll now get to do self-check-in for TSA. They'll be expanding this program to smaller airports and eventually the major airports over the next couple of years. There's going to be changes to international travel also. But starting in February 2025, if you're coming from an airport that has the same standard of check-in as the United States, the pass-through is now going to be just like it is to do domestic travel in between airports. What does this mean? It means there'll be no more grabbing your bag at customs. There'll be no more going through immigration. There'll be no more having to go back through TSA pre-check. You will get off the plane and just change to your domestic flight, just like they were both domestic flights. that smooth. The key to surviving all of these changes in 2025 is to plan ahead, stay informed, and just keep your sense of humor. Travel's an adventure, isn't it? Well, speaking of planning ahead, did you know that if you plan your days right in 2025, you can get actually 17 more days of travel than that measly 2 weeks that you've been given? Check out this next video on how to maximize your vacation days to get more travel in 2025.